Okay, I was having some issues with Periscope, but I hope you guys can see and hear me now. Make sure that the volume is up. So you can ask me anything about social media. Hopefully you were able to join us on the Twitter chat with Jeff Barrett. He is at Barrett All on Twitter. And we are broadcasting live now here on Periscope. You can follow me on Twitter at Best Superwoman on Periscope as well. Now, one of the things that I wanted to talk very briefly about where social media is concerned, make sure that you are consistent with your branding and that you have secured your name, your logo, on platforms where people actually utilize your products and services. A lot of people will jump onto social media platforms because that's what's popping, is popular at the moment, but it may not be where your consumer base is. So you want to be very careful not to just jump on something because there's nothing wrong with making sure that you, I'll turn this down a little bit. Nothing wrong with making sure that you secure your name on a platform so that others aren't able to infringe on that. But you do want to make sure that you have not put yourself in a situation where just because someone is using a platform that you want to use it as well, if that makes sense. And when I say make sure, just making sure we have notifications down so you guys can't hear all that. We for instance, Instagram. Instagram is very popular. And some brands really struggle on Instagram and they're not quite sure why. Well, part of the reason is maybe your product or service just doesn't really fit the Instagram platform. Instagram is very visual. It's not for a lot of words and things of that nature. So you want to make sure that whatever you do, you have a lot of visuals with it. Instagram has video capability, but they just moved to, I think, 30 or 60 seconds depending on your account because they're, building on that. So if you don't have video content that you create or share, Instagram may not be what's best for you. Instagram does have options where you can promote your product or service very well. You just have to learn how to do that in a way that's best for you. Instagram ads are now available. They're kind of new. Everyone is not able to use them. Like, I don't use Instagram ads at all. But there's the capability for products and services that utilize that and can benefit from it. We got our first question. It says, what are some fundamentals of branding that work for traditional as well as social media branding? Logos are one thing. No matter what you do, you can be recognized by your logo, your trademark. Those type of things are typical between traditional as well as social media. When you create your logo or your trademark, that becomes what people associate your business with. For a very long time, I was known more for my company logo than by my face. And I didn't have a problem with that. My logo is cute. I pay good money for it. So I want people to recognize it and know that it is associated with who I am and my brand, as well as the products and services that I provide. So you want to just make sure that when you're doing some of those things that you're consistent. Whatever your brand looks like in print, or traditional marketing or traditional media is how your brand should also reflect on social media. So you don't want to have 2 or 3 different logos unless you have different divisions of your company, like Coca-Cola has Sprite and some of the other brands under the Coca-Cola brand. Those things, that's fine if you're the kind of company that you have multiple brands and products under one larger company. But you want to make sure that there's some consistency and that you're using logos, trademarks effectively to make yourself recognizable in the marketplace, whether it's on social media or traditionally. Our second question is, which platforms should I choose first, and should I secure my name on all social media platforms if I'm not active on all of them? Well, which platforms you should choose first really depend on what type of product or service you have. If you sell, for example, if you sell clothes and you sell clothes to women's clothing, Instagram is a good place to go because that's a very popular method of marketing for clothing brands. However, everybody's doing it. So you have to do it in a way to differentiate yourself from all the other clothing manufacturers, designers, stylists, boutiques on Instagram. So you have to be very clever in how you utilize Instagram if that's what you are doing, if that's the product or service you provide. If you are in visuals, if you're an artist, if you're a musician, if you are an interior decorator, Instagram is also good for that. But so is Pinterest. Pinterest is very good for visuals, people who create, people who are creators or create products and services that are visually aesthetic. Those are good platforms to use. Twitter, I still love Twitter. People are like, Twitter is so old. Only old people use Twitter. No, I get a lot more engagement on Twitter than I do on Facebook. Twitter is still popping, so do not doubt Twitter. And Twitter is still a very good way of meeting and greeting and networking people to your brand that you may not even think about, because if you use Twitter effectively and learn how to read the analytics, it can be very beneficial for your brand. Now, securing your name on social media platforms, even if you're not active, that's not a bad idea, but it can be very time consuming. You want to be very mindful. There are social media sites that are popping up left and right. Stuff you've never heard of will be very active tomorrow. Snapchat, things of that nature. You want to make sure that if you're securing your name on it, that you at least learn what the platform is about so that you can start to utilize it just a little bit. No one likes inactive accounts. They don't look good. And myself personally, if I have people who are inactive on my social media, I remove them. Why are you here? What are you here for? So if you're doing a placeholder type of situation where you're securing yourself on a site, make sure that you're not at the same time putting yourself in a situation where you're getting followers or you're following people, but you're inactive, because that doesn't look good for you. Be on the site, and if you're not going to be active, just don't be active until you learn how to use that site to your benefit. Question number 3. As an independent business owner, who does it all? How can I manage all my platforms with the limited amount of time I have? Ha, 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 ha. Welcome to my world. I can completely relate. I thank God for the invention of Hootsuite. I promise you, it is everything. It is the bee's knees, the sugar honey iced tea. Hootsuite makes it manageable. I, by myself, manage over 15 social media accounts. I have issues. I have problems, and I don't have very much time. But Hootsuite does make things a lot more manageable for me. I don't know what I would do without it. There was a time before I discovered Hootsuite. It's not like it didn't exist. I just hadn't discovered it yet. Well, I was constantly trying to post everything on Facebook and Twitter all by my lonesome, and it wasn't working out very well for me. There were lags in between the frequency of my content, and people were getting bored, which happens. With Hootsuite, I'm able to schedule posts. I am able to find content, new content that I can use that's different, so that I can share that on my networks as well. I like Hootsuite. It allows me to pretty much put every account that I have on there. They need to make it possible for 2 Google pages to be on there, though, but I'm sure that's coming. Instagram, you can manage your Instagram from there. You can post from Instagram. It creates a notification, but it does simplify it a little bit easier, because you can schedule it in advance, like other posts, to give yourself time to say, oh, I got this notification. And if you change your mind, don't post it. Or you can always post it later, but I like Hootsuite. Buffer was a good one, but something happened to Buffer. I don't like it anymore. I don't utilize it anymore, because they took away the option for you to add curated content that they found online for you to your accounts. That's kind of the point, to have content that you don't always have to create yourself, because 1/3 of the content that you share should not be about you, because that's what bores people, talking about yourself all the time. So you want to make sure that you have content from other sources and about other people, places, things that may be of interest to people who follow you. And when Buffer removed that or made it, where you had to pay for it, I'm not quite sure which one happened, I stopped using Buffer. But definitely Hootsuite is one. Make sure if you have multiple Facebook pages, make sure you're utilizing the Pages Manager option. And that particular app helps a lot too. I manage multiple Facebook pages as well. And that comes in very handy, because you still have the scheduling option there as well. And you can set your own time as to how you want to do things. But overall, I find those to be very, very helpful. Question number 4. Is there a weekly process you use to manage your many accounts using Hootsuite? And how do you manage engagement? Okay, I do. I actually try to set aside approximately 30 minutes to an hour every day to go and visit my Hootsuite to schedule posts in advance. The way my business is, thankfully, I have a good idea as to what I'm doing in advance. I know when my events are, I know what's going on with my clients. I know when I'm traveling. I know that there's a campaign coming up that's associated with something going on in my business because those things are planned and they've been consistently going on for years. That really helps me to schedule time and schedule posts in advance. Like I know every week on Friday, I broadcast the Fab Life radio show. Every month or so, we're looking to do different things and engage with people on different platforms, just overall. So I make sure that that's in there. I know that every May, we're getting ready for the music issue of Detroit CEO magazine. I know every August I'm getting ready for my women's conference. I know that my clients have these different events and different obligations in between those times. So I just mindfully look at my calendar to start. I keep everything in my calendar. I live by it. If there was no Google Calendar, I think I'd drop all the balls in the world. And with my calendar, I look and see what's going on. What do I need to schedule? On my social media, there are some things that are consistent verbiage that I use. I save them in my drafts on Hootsuite so that every year I can just go in and maybe tweak the date, the time, the place, whatever may need to be changed, but I save those in my drafts. The drafts are beautiful. Thank you, Hootsuite, for doing that. I also make sure that I go ahead of time. So I don't just schedule posts for Monday and Tuesday. I go all the way out to Wednesday, Thursday, Friday some weeks. Within that hour time that I dedicate on that Monday or even on that weekend, schedule out as much as I can over the course of the week, and then you slide in the little extras directly from your phone or from your app in between that time to fill in any gaps or auto schedule them from the Hootsuite app on your phone. And it really does help. It helps to build content where I'm not constantly looking at my phone or wondering, are people seeing anything that I'm posting? People think I'm on social media 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I'm at home in my bed, sleep, watching TV, at the movies with a client, living. I'm not sitting in front of my computer all those hours that people see content from me. And I manage engagement by learning the analytics behind each one of those platforms. Now, Hootsuite does have built-in analytics, which is really kind of cool, but I do go out to my Twitter analytics. I do go out to my Facebook analytics. I go out to, and I use Clout as well to measure my analytics. That way, even if there's some slight discrepancy that may come from Hootsuite, or maybe it's not pulling in my analytics appropriately, I can still see what is taking place on my platforms, what people like, what they didn't like, what they engaged with, what they didn't engage with, what did well that month, what didn't do well, what do I need to improve upon, how many followers did I lose or gain. I don't really care about losing followers, it's like, you don't like me, bye. But at the same time, you do want to make sure that people aren't just dropping off. Sometimes you're losing followers because they were robots or they were inactive accounts that got removed anyway. So losing followers is not such a bad thing. But I want to see who's following me too. Like, what is it that I might have in common with that person? That's one of the things I like about Twitter analytics. It kind of gives you a better idea as to what other people like. So you can see what it is that they like about you and what you post. And you get more of that from Twitter than I think from other platforms as well. So you manage the engagement that way, learning the analytics. Google Analytics also for my website. That's how I measure my engagement on my website as well, to make sure that, I'm paying attention to what's going on where my website is concerned. Where are people finding me from? How are they getting there? How are they getting to my website? Where did they come from? Did they come from my social media platforms? I also measure engagement when I do forums for different things. So when I do a call for speakers for my women's conference, or I send out a call for music submissions for my radio show or things of that nature, on those forms, I'll ask people, how did they hear about me? Because they may not see the link directly from one of my social media pages, or they may have. They may even find it on my website. But I ask that question. That's a standard question on all of my Google forms when I send that out to people, the masses. And that is a question I consistently ask. How did you hear about me? And people answer that question. And I use that to measure my engagement as well. I'll go to those platforms and see, how am I doing on this, and how many followers do I have, and things of that nature. Question 5. Social media purists feel that brands should be more human by showcasing the people behind the brand rather than their logo. Oh, okay. Okay. Well, you have to do what's comfortable for you. And here's why. Social media is so big and is so broad, and there's so many people and so many brands. However, people are entitled to their privacy. People are entitled to be able to live their daily lives. And individuals themselves are brands. And if you are an individual who runs a brand or runs a company, you can be just as active on social media representing your company as you are representing yourself. It's completely up to you. Every CEO of every major corporation or brand does not need to be on Twitter. But if they are engaging with their consumers. So you don't want to be that individual representing a company or a brand who's just on a social media platform because people think you should be. You're entitled to still have your life and have, if you are blessed to have a social media management division, team, or individual handling your social media on your behalf. If you are engaging as an individual, you don't have to necessarily be the face of your company. Some of us, like me, I kind of have no choice. There's only one me, and I'm the company, and I'm the woman, and I'm the brand. But you have the CEO of Coca-Cola, their face is not all over replacing the logo. You don't have to do everything everybody else does exactly the way they do it for it to work for you. What works for you works for you. And even though logos are critical for brand recognition, they absolutely are. Being a human being doesn't mean we have to see your face all the time. You can still be the person behind the brand because you're the person making the decisions or you're the person representing the brand without it being, we have to see your face. Human interaction is more engagement than it is being able to see what you look like. Personally, I wish that I could be at home in a t-shirt and blue jeans and no hair and makeup every single day. But I'm in a situation where I have to be the face of my brand. But I also have my logo more dominant than my own face. I keep a separate Facebook page, but use it to market my brand. And then I have my Facebook page for my company. And the same thing with my Twitter. Like, this is my personal Periscope. But I use it to broadcast on behalf of my brand on occasion. You have to find what fits for you and what allows you to maintain a level of privacy for your own personal life. And being human, again, is about the engagement. Being robotic is just liking something, because somebody else liked it. You can be engaging, you can be human. Interaction is what humanity includes. You don't have to necessarily have your face be the face of your brand. Let the logo work for you. And then at the end of the day, everybody's not Colonel Sanders. Everybody can't be Colonel Sanders. But we'll always remember KFC, Long after Colonel Sanders has passed, we still know KFC. And for a while, without the caricature of Colonel Sanders, we were perfectly fine with KFC. So you don't have to put yourself in a situation where you feel obligated to make your face seen all the time on your social media for people to want to engage with you. Sometimes it's good to be a mystery. Sometimes it's kind of cool to walk into a room and have people say, "Oh my God, you're Superwoman. I recognize you because I saw a picture of you on Instagram." But there's more pictures of other stuff than me on my Instagram. Air of mystery keeps people interested. You can always treat it that way as well. And I just want to give a shout out because I have not met Jeff in person, but he was really cool, very on top of the questions on the Twitter chat, and I really appreciated it. I was typing and doing stuff, but it had a nice flow to it, and he handled it very, very well. Very well. So thank you very much for that, Jeff. Question number 6. How can brands use content to increase brand recognition and build trust in their social media communities? Oh, that's a good one. Okay, there's rules to this and there's levels to this, okay? You want to use content that's just not the stuff you find interesting, right? Because what you may find interesting may not be what other people that follow you find interesting. Initially, people will follow you because either they have heard of you, their friends follow you, or they've seen content from you that they have liked previously. You keep that by sharing content that appeals to them. Okay? Associate yourself with brands that I would say are somewhat like your own without being your competition, if that makes sense. For instance, the Superwoman brand, we share content from periodicals that are related to women. Women's health, like Huffington Post Women. We share a lot of content on that particular Twitter page from the Huffington Post because that is what our demographic likes. I have yet not read an article from the Huffington Post in probably a couple months, personally. Okay? But that doesn't mean that the people that follow me aren't interested. So you keep the content connected to what you do and who your demographic is, and it becomes associated. Oh, this person has good content. This person has content that I like, that is pertinent to who I am or what I do. But even though it may not be what you personally like, we have to sometimes step outside of ourselves when it comes to social media. Everything can't be about you. It's like your social media, once you get to the point where people are recognizing your brand, it's not all about you. It's about them, okay? It's about what do they like as well and sharing content that they like. So, personally, I might love movies. All my content is not going to be movie related though, because everyone that follows me doesn't necessarily like movies. And again, this is where your analytics are very, very helpful. Particularly, again, I'm going to bring up Twitter because they have a nice little breakdown of what people like who follow you. And use that information. If you have 50% of your followers have an interest in fashion, you should be posting about fashion on occasion. And you could weigh in on your opinion. Your tweet could be, ABC brand loves this new Bauman spring summer collection. You've associated yourself with another brand that is of interest to the people who follow you. It's kind of mathematical in that way. You could, if I'm a foodie, I post a lot of food and I engage with the restaurants that I get my food from. And we have a little dialogue on Twitter. People who like me and also know that I'm a foodie because I post food on occasion or when I'm traveling, they now know that I go to this particular restaurant or I frequent this establishment and this is what I like to eat this on their menu. I need an endorsement, by the way. I post a lot of food and I give a lot of good recommendations to a lot of good places. I could use an endorsement. But you want to make sure that, again, all your content is not about you, but how you associate yourself with the content that people who follow you like. That helps build trust in your social media community as well, because they know it's not all about you, that you're a sharer, that you're engaging, and that you have content that is of interest to them as much as it may be to yourself. Okay, we've got about 3 minutes left. So here is our final question. How do you measure what's working and what isn't? Oh, that's a good question. Excellent question. Excellent question. Analytics again. And I know it's like beating you over the head about analytics. Analytics. It is very important that you learn how to read the analytics for your social media platforms that you are on. Very important. I can't stress that enough because it teaches you what works and what doesn't. I don't believe in deleting posts and taking stuff down. I don't do that because you have to also remember that there is some content that, depending on how large your following is, people have yet to see. Everybody is not on Facebook. Everybody's not on Twitter. Everybody's not on Instagram. Find a way to share your content on all three platforms at the same time. Again, Hootsuite and Instagram also has the option to share on Facebook and Twitter. But read your analytics. Learn to see what's working. Use the tools that are embedded in each social media platform. Not all of them have it again, like Instagram doesn't have an analytics, may never have one. But, check your clout score. It gives you an idea as to what people like about your content and where you're measuring as far as what content you're posting versus the content that you think people might like. Because sometimes you post things, you think people like it, and it'll get no shares, no retweets, no likes, nothing. And then you'll post something that you'll think people aren't paying any attention to, and it could go berserk and become viral. So you definitely want to make sure that you're paying attention to those analytics because they are so vital. And be willing to change. I offer a service as well. Sorry for the plug. I probably shouldn't, but I'm going to. I offer a social media management consulting, basically. I will go through your website as well as your social media platforms to kind of get a better idea as to what you could do better. And I look at, your engagement. I look at your followers. I look and see what type of people follow you. Are these the type of people that will spend money on your product or service? And then I give that information back to you so you can make changes to your platforms, whether it's as simple as the aesthetics and how things look, all the way down to you may need to change how you write your content or where you get your content from to improve your engagement. So that's something that, you can also see depending on where you are. People can definitely benefit from that. I am Superwoman, Angela T. Jones. I'm in Detroit, Michigan, and I am very excited about this. This is awesome. Thank you guys for joining us. I really appreciate it. You can check me out. My website is superwomanproductions.com. From there, you can also find my Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, because I am on all of those platforms. There's a nice little marker on my website that shows all the social media platforms that I am on. And check out the Superwoman brand as well as the Fab Life Radio Show and Mogul Mindset Entertainment Group, all of which are under Superwoman Productions and Publishing. So thank you for joining us here tonight, this afternoon. I just got back from Dallas, so I'm all off on my time. And I look forward to doing this again in the near future. Smooches.